Well, we're out here Shade Tree mechanic style today. Decided to kind of off and on take the Ford apart this week just to find out what the problem is. I expected it was a broken timing chain. However, we sheared the pin right off the cam. And ooh, yeah. Looks like maybe this had been loose and getting beat up for a while. And I wonder if that had anything to do with the fact that, so this thing was converted to EFI, and the old fuel pump was left on there. And I wonder if it just got tight enough where it finally added enough tension to these, where it snapped off, but I mean, clearly yeah, got pins wore out. Actually, that slid right out, so I wonder what the deal is there. But I don't know, this bolt, the way this bolt's beat up, like, man, it was, so I wonder if it wasn't tight. I wonder if this bolt backed out, because honestly this pin just looks rubbed off on the corner like it backed out of the cam and then spun. Boy, might it really be that easy? I can just push it back together? I don't know, we'll see. Tear into it some more here and find out. This is also not a good sign. Do you see all that silicone stuck to the timing chain? Because whoever worked on this before decided that didn't need a gasket and just silicone the crap out of everything. It's not good. I wonder how much is laying in the bottom of the pan. Probably also explains our oil pressure issues that it had been having. Well, I threw the timing chain back on just to be able to rotate the engine and make sure the top end rotates. All that seems normal still. The pin actually is tight in the camshaft after I tap that back in, so that's a good sign. I'm definitely leaning towards this bolt backed out, and that was the cause of the problems. However, like I said, I need to just put a block off plate on that fuel pump, because otherwise it's just pumping away and there's no fuel running through it anyway. The silicone concerns me a lot, enough where, because of the previous hot oil pressure being low, I feel like I should try to take the pan off. Kind of looking around on some pictures, it looks like there's no baffling in there from the factory, at least what some cheap aftermarket ones look like. There's just no baffling at all. And hopefully the pickup is then kind of near the pump, which is right at the front, and we can slide it forward and get it over the cross member and hopefully pull that out so that we can take the oil pump off. Not going to be super surprised if the pickup screen is full of silicone, or there's a bunch of silicone laying in the bottom of the pan at this point. Really, I'm just more concerned about, I want to make sure that stuff's cleaned out. I feel like the oil pressure issue was less about the pickup being blocked and more about probably had a piece that got in and then stuck in the bypass valve, is my bigger concern about what I thought was happening, especially after it kind of fixed itself the other day. But yeah, no, just crazy that I drove this thing 3+ hours the other weekend only to then pull it in the garage and this thing let go. So crazy. But I'll be able to ditch the fuel pump eccentric altogether. Just gotta find, get a different bolt, make sure we Loctite that thing in there next time. This chain also looked pretty loose, looser than I'd like, so I'm gonna get a new chain for it anyway. This one's also, it's got a Ford part number on it, even for being double roller, so I don't know if that's just like a Ford Motorsport one that got put in here, or if I doubt it's an original. I would have thought these would have been a single, but yeah, that's where we're at for right now. I think I'm gonna try to get the pan off just to get a better look down there. Should add to my notes that either this filter adapter housing is clocked wrong, or that's supposed to be a smaller oil filter in the first place, because it is way too tight of an access in there to have been that way properly. So bare minimum, I got to find a different filter that fits that when this goes back together to make oil changes a lot easier. Or, like I said, this needs to get clocked different. I tried to rotate it up, but it hits the oil pan, but also if it's a smaller filter, I could probably rotate that and then it'd be straight up and down and it'd be way easier access. So something to remember to think about. No gasket and silicone. Again. Seriously, people, stop just siliconing everything with excessive amounts. Look how much stuff's hanging off the side of that. Like, all that stuff is ready to just fall off and get pumped through your motor. Come on. And as suspected, there's no wiggle room whatsoever for getting that oil pan off with the engine in. So this is about where, in the last video, I was talking about this might be a project that has to wait, because basically, bare minimum, like, I've got to take the hood off and the fuel injection and get down to the manifold so I can put a lift plate on it so that I can maybe, hopefully, lift it a couple inches, try to wiggle that pan off. You know, but right now I've got everything so precarious around here, like I'm going to have to just finish disconnecting and taking this stuff off to even be able to do that within reason. But I'm also trying to swap the transmission. But in order to do that, the cross members need to come out, the exhaust needs to come off, which isn't great on there anyway. Like, it's basically, there's mounts all the way at the back and then the motor. So there's freaking 15 feet of exhaust pipe just dangling in there. Yeah, and then now that we have all this stuff out of the way, I might as well change the motor mounts because, you know, they're shot. At some point, it really starts looking like it's easier to take the cab off. But then, of course, now I'm pulling the whole front end. And why I'd be willing to take the cab off is because the cab mounts are shot. At least the rubber portions. The rest of it, the floor looks pretty solid still. But the rubber bushings need replacing. Now, you drive this thing down a little bit bumpy road at slow speeds and it's just squeak, 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 from all the stuff moving around. Yeah. And the drive shaft's going to have to get rebuilt anyway. Carrier bearing shot. And of course, it's going to have to get shortened for the new transmission anyway. Yeah. And by now, I'm sure some of you realize, like, why didn't I just shove the pin back at the camshaft, bolt it back up, and go on my merry way? And it's because, like, the whole point of last weekend was trying to get the transmission swapped, so I'm already going to be into it for all those other things anyway. So to be at this point where, I mean, it's a concerning amount of silicone, I really want to make sure that pan is clean. I mean, I can look down in it right now and see stuff in there. I don't know if that's what just fell off from the timing cover, or maybe it's been sitting in the bottom the entire time. Hard to say, but I just, for peace of mind, I want to check and make sure. And yeah, this is just, it's snowballing. It's snowballing on me real quick. Well, I spent Friday kind of crashing out over the truck project because of how much that is snowballing. And really, I kind of came to the conclusion that I don't want to be tearing that thing apart out in the dirt. And that it is for sure going to turn into a much, much larger project along the way of just trying to get the transmission swapped and then making sure that I can check out the engine properly. and all the knock-on effects of that. I also don't want to really wait all summer until fall to be able to do that, but I just don't have the space here in the garage. And that kind of just led me down to, I looked again on Marketplace because there's somebody kind of localish that like seems to always have like used cabinet systems and stuff, like from commercial grade stuff. And I kind of just decided to screw it. I'm gonna go buy some stuff they got because it kind of looked like it fit my space pretty good. And basically spent the whole weekend remodeling in the garage here. Now, what's behind me really hasn't changed other than I decided to get rid of a few sets of tires. You know, mostly I just had them slicks that were sitting up here. I've been sitting on those things for like 5 years. Haven't actually ever put them on a set of wheels. Really don't see me getting around to it at all, especially when I got another set of wheels that has slicks on them already, which I also haven't used. It was time. We need to clean out some stuff. I was just kind of in a purge mode. Really didn't throw away a whole lot of stuff while cleaning over the weekend, but I mean a small amount. Largely it was just a lot of rearranging things and, you know, moving a couple of things outside that didn't need to be in here taking up space either. But hey, let's check it out. It looks great. At least I think it does. This is like giving me the whole, this is nicer than I deserve to have kind of a feeling out of this. But man, is it nice. And not only is it way better than the crap that I took out that you've seen in the background of so many videos that was literally made out of chipboard, and honestly it looks like a bunch of leftovers from maybe when the house was built. Well, rather they're on the addition part of the garage, so it's probably leftovers from that stuff, or just things that were scrounged up because a whole lot of the wood didn't match. The cabinet system was okay, but it wasn't super great over there. Like the doors were always falling open. I hated that about it, and it didn't store my stuff really well. So I took a chance on this, and I gotta say, it came out way better than I thought it possibly could. I mean, first of all, they're nice quality stuff, and then way more options as far as shelf heights kind of things. Basically, this was advertised as 10 feet of lowers and like 13.5 feet of uppers. I had no idea the uppers were going to fit in this space this nice. I have one other cabinet that I didn't use that would have been like 6 inches too long to use that cabinet in this sequence. But thanks to this one being a little bit shorter and this one being slightly shorter, like it worked out. There's basically just enough room on each side that I can stick my fingers in. Like, I couldn't have planned that any better. And then to top it off, the TV fits in the microwave opening perfect. Like, just happy accident there. And then we get down to the counter, and it is from wall to wall in this space because it turns out the counter was actually a little bit long. I had to trim it because obviously the walls aren't square, but was able to have a nice finished edge on this side, and then it just runs up to the wall on this side, and I had to cut like 7 inches off of it or something like that. It worked out awesome. And I like the height, I like the cabinets being way up. Like, yeah, some stuff is really high to reach, but also it wasn't any different than it was before over there. But I mean, the countertop is way nicer. I mean, it's got drawers, which is the big thing, because over there were no drawers. It was only cupboards, and there were so many holes, and like anytime you worked on anything over there and that was my dirty area, it just fall onto all the stuff that I had in the cabinets anyway, which was super annoying. But now I've been able to divide things up, and I got kind of a junk drawer, I got tapes and hole saws and just hardware fittings and things. Like everything's kind of organized now. And then yeah, I was able to, decide to put the bolt bin over here. Well, I could stick stuff on top and sort it out because this is a way easier height than on that high bench over there that it was on. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. The only downside is I wanted to take my Aqueous Solution cleaning rig and actually build it into the counter on this part. It would have been able to open the lid, it closed up. Was planning to try to hide the whole thing because largely this cabinet was completely empty until I decided to actually put my jack stands and stuff in there. And I had the space. That's the weird thing. It's like I took so much stuff from over there that was all disorganized and some stuff that was over here and some stuff that was there, whatever. And it's all in here and I've got space in cabinets still. Like there's still a completely empty shelf up there, half an empty shelf here. The one leftover cabinet I put over there, it's completely empty. There's nothing in it yet. There's still some space in some drawers and space in different places if I really want to use it. And I don't know, this is awesome because I'm actually going to end up with a ton more room, which you'll really notice when we turn the camera around and look at the other side of the room. Now obviously my big bench was over here. It's been now shifted to the back wall. I still want this to be like my kind of dirty fab area. I hung my splitter up on the wall. Somehow it's hanging there without any issues whatsoever on just 2 screws, which is kind of awesome. Threw in that other cabinet right here. The refrigerator stayed in the same place. That cabinet stayed in the same place. But now I always was planning to tuck this bench underneath. And before I did that, before it had wheels on it, I'd slid it under there. That was originally like when I got the lathe. I got this bench at the same time and this one shortly before or after, I can't remember. But yeah, I had another one of these, I just cut it off, so I fit it under there. I got truck parts on it right now, radiator stuck in there, jacks underneath. I had these buckets laid in the other way, or the bins. Turned them sideways, stuck them in, so I get a whole extra bin in there, so that saves some space. I haven't done anything with my vise and shear tools and stuff. I'm trying to decide on whether I need a modular system. Well, I want to do a modular system. I just don't know whether it's going to be something that mounts to the bench, which would be nice, or if I want to do something that mounts to the floor where I can just like drop a post in it and then have room to work all the way around something. It'd really be awesome to believe that I can keep a bunch of floor space the whole time, but there's just no guarantee of that because usually sometimes I got 2 vehicles in here torn apart trying to work on stuff. So if it was only ever going to be 1 vehicle, that'd be an option, but I want to figure out something where, I mean, even if it's just a receiver hitch and everything's like got its own little pin thing and it just shoves into the table, and then I got like it out here for a workspace around it, would be pretty awesome because I've got the vise, the shear, got a shrinker stretcher now, I've got that planishing hammer. Hopefully we'll add some other tools at some point that might be able to use the same system, would be great. Just kind of redid a lot of stuff that was over in that corner, ended up over here now. Like the flow bench and that Aqueous parts washer. I was really hoping I could make this fit over there because the only thing I really don't have space for right now is my bender. So still trying to work out what's going to be going on with this, but at least this is on wheels so I can just roll it around wherever as needed right now. It does look like a lot more floor space just thanks to the car being turned sideways right now. The welders are still stuck in right there in front of the whiteboard, but yeah, no, really the big thing here is just trying to get enough space in here where right now, if I were to pull the engine out of the tube chassis car, I wouldn't feel bad about pushing the tube chassis car outside so I could get the truck in here and work on the truck for the time being. And that's definitely going to be a possibility in the next week or so. we'll just see. But also, like, before I move the car, I had to, weld a suspension piece for that upper third link. And that's like the first thing I've done on the tube chassis car in months and months, probably over 6 months. And it was, I don't know, it was hard to like get, okay, like I gotta do this so I can move it and whatever. And then now it's kind of got me a little bit motivated again to try just like, I shouldn't even be worried about the body of this thing. I should just like do what I need to do to get it together as like a tube or a cart build. It'll have just the shell on it, but otherwise just all tube work in the front, where the doors are going to be, just make sure that I can, I can stick the old doors on, gut them out, build the tubes, and then worry about what I'm going to do with the doors later kind of a thing. But basically just get the floor in there, get some wheel tubs, get the body mounted properly, because right now the body's not, it's just setting on there. It's not mounted to anything, and then at least it's like solid enough to try to do something with. And really I need a center section for the 9-inch. And you can set the drive shaft, and then I can put the transmission back in, get a drive shaft made. I've really got most of the engine stuff now. The big holdup that's going to be there is I'm wanting to drive the dry sump pump off of the camshaft like a sprint car. And that's not just parts you can buy for an Oldsmobile, so I've got to build something there. But then I'm also still going to need to be able to have some type of power steering setup. Maybe I'll go with an electric setup just because then I can kind of mount it wherever and then just plumb it in. Which would be, I don't know, it'd be kind of nice to try that out there. I've had multiple offers from Hang Tight about that trying to get some stuff, but I'm on the other car, like what I had was working great and I really never had the need, and it was always in the back of my head to do it for this with one of the Hang Tight controllers and then like a Volvo pump or whatever. But I'll have to look more into that. I don't know which pumps I can use, or what the, cost difference there. But basically I need to figure out what I'm going to do for running an alternator. Again, I can, do that off of the front with a drive system, figure that out. I kind of already got a space in this front plate for that, where I had it previously mounted. Water pump won't be able to go back on because it's right in front of the camshaft kind of thing. I'll probably just do a remote, like an electric pump at that point in time. I'm not super thrilled about that. I also don't know, how it would go if I drove the dry sump off of the water pump pulley, like did a direct drive off of that. Like, I don't know. The whole point of running it off the camshaft is that, like, if the engine is running, the pump is turning kind of a thing, just as like a big safety factor there. So, because there's no belt to toss. And if it somehow breaks the timing chain, guess what? The engine's shutting off anyway. So those are some things I still need to figure out there. And then of course with the intake manifold set up, like whether I just throw a carburetor on it to kind of get things going easier and quicker at this point in time, or if I, keep going along, just get EFI put on it. It's just, that's a way bigger cost than if I just found a carburetor put on it for now. And really the only thing I'd be buying different later would be the regulator, and then the carb itself. I do have a EFI Dominator Stealth set up already. I just don't have either the wiring or the computer. So there's, give and take on that, but yeah, it's kind of where things are at. It's weird that I end up just having kind of about the truck, and then now the garage is like the cleanest it's been in years. Probably since before the last time that I remodeled things a little bit. I still want to do something different over here. I got to figure out what that is yet. A kind of a big pain in the butt of it is all of my roll cage sitting here, which, again, maybe I just need to work on this thing for a month or so and get the tube work done. And then if all the tube work's done, then I I don't know, maybe there's, I can find somewhere to stick the benders just out of the way and not going to be as much of an issue kind of a thing. But then really if I get the car cruising along, we'll just get it to a point where I want to get it, blasted and some paint on it and stuff like that. It might need to be somewhere else for a little while, or I just need to do it a little bit at a time, kind of like I was doing with the weld through primer. I don't know, again, there's a little bit too many of just, whatever, we'll see how we feel at the time with this car going on right now. But even if I just shove it outside, get the truck in here, at least the truck is a direct project to keep working on stuff.